All right, so welcome. Good evening. Today's gonna be, I believe, day 7 of FOP. We're going to continue where we left off yesterday. We started on classes and objects. Um, I do apologize from last night. Uh, for some reason, after my Zoom had crashed and I logged back in, I think Chris took host. We started recording, but it didn't save the second part of the video, and the first video was corrupted. But hopefully that other video from our previous class can do just as well. The pacing was pretty much exactly the same from where we were at, and they finished off on the same problem. So you can use that to make up for yesterday's, but hopefully today runs smooth like all the other ones did. We do have someone new today. We have Adrian here joining us. So welcome, Adrian. Thank you for hopping on. Um, hopefully, have you been keeping up with the videos? Do you know like what we've been doing up to this point, or no? Okay, yeah, I see you in the chat. Yeah, so today we're going to continue off of classes. Do not hesitate to ask any questions if you have any. And if needed, I can stay here after class for a little bit and give you some pointers if you need to make sure that you catch up if you need it. Um, Yesterday we ended off with, let's see, let me open the slides. We did taxi cab pi. Um, and I know we talked about leaving stddev.py as a challenge for you guys. So did anyone here complete that they would like to demonstrate how they did it? Even if you didn't complete it, like you can show us up to what part you got to if you got stuck, and we can actually talk through what was happening and how to fix your issues if needed. Streamingguide.py. I don't believe so. I don't think we did streamingguide.py. Was that on the classes and object ones? I haven't. No, we have not. We haven't even reached that part of the slides yet. We're on the one previous to that one, so we'll probably start that today. But for those of you that were here yesterday, did you do stddev.py? Anybody at all? So no one did it. If we didn't,
Don't have it.
we can allocate some time to kind of like try to do it. We can get 15 minutes and then we can talk through it afterwards. If we didn't, if someone did do it, it would be nice to have that demonstration. I saw you raise your hand, Jose.
Damn. Now, I got stuck trying to figure out. Well, actually, I ran out of time. Really, I just didn't put more time into actually getting inputs from like P1, 2, and 3, like setting it up where like if you add a person individually, it would have added to the list. So I kind of did the lazy way and just made it as if just like the example, pretty much,
Okay,
without any input from anybody.
so yeah. Okay. We get allocated about 10 minutes to this. Let you guys try it out before we talk through it. One thing I do want to mention, and this is for you guys. Uh, Whenever you guys do start the full stack immersive program, the one thing I recommend is volunteer as much as possible. All right. The what I can recommend to you guys is leave the ego out the door, right? Um, show up ready to learn. Um, if you volunteer as much as possible and they use you as the example, you're going to be coding along with the instructor, and they'll figure out the issues that you are encountering, and it'll be a better learning experience for you guys than those that decide not to speak up because they don't want to be the one to be the example. Because at the end of the day, this is you want to get as much possible out of the program as you can, and there's no shame in being one like raise your hand, even if you're absolutely completely wrong. Like your problem, like you probably did a completely different problem, or you misunderstood it. You had no idea what the hell you were doing. It's better to identify that. Let the instructor let you tell you that and show you the right way, and you learn from that. Then to be too scared to raise your hand or whatever. Don't want to be the guy like constantly raise his hand or talking like, hey, I'll show mine, because you're embarrassed, or something like that. Let the ego out the door. Let all that outside, and take full advantage of those opportunities. Be that guy. You want to annoy the instructor because you're the only one always like say, hey, I'll do it. Like check my code out. Uh, why? Because personally, that's how I learn. Um, I'd rather be the one getting that one-on-one, even if it's in front of a bunch of other people, because I'll get more out of it than watching somebody else's code. If I'm the one coding along and they're fixing my issues, so I prefer that because at the end of the day, you'll get better while everybody else isn't. So just a recommendation. I don't care if you guys do here or not. It's up to y'all. That's just how I see the benefit of it, and just highly recommend it. So we will allocate 10 minutes to this. So let's come back in 10 minutes, look at standard deviation, familiarize yourself with it, attempt it, and then we'll come back and try to complete it on camera. All right, let's go ahead and come back. Um, Anyone finish by any chance or no? Yeah, this is the first time I look at this problem. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But we'll give it an attempt on camera. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right, can you guys see my VS Code? Awesome. All right, so we're going to write a class called person that's going to take two private data members. All right, one of them being name and age. And it's going to have the init method that takes both of them. So we'll start off class. It's going to be person. Define. We're going to initialize our class. It's going to have to require self, so it knows that we're talking about it. Give it name and age. And then we're going to declare what these are going to be. So name and age, we're going to assign it their respective parameters. I do apologize for my son screaming in the background. Right. So it should also have a get age method. All right. So it has its initializing method, which will instantiate our class, we call it, but it's going to require a get age method. So we're going to do define get age, which will take self. And it's going to be one of our getters, right? So it should return to us our age. So return self dot underscore age. And here is where the tricky part comes in, especially if we've never seen this. Personally, I've never even heard of standard deviation, so most of this 10 minutes considered me reading up on it. So to calculate a standard deviation, all right, so we'll have to write a function, which is not going to be part of the class, right? So we're going to have to backspace out of the class itself. This function is going to be called stdef that takes a parameter of a list of person objects and is going to return the standard deviation of all their ages. All right, the population standard deviation that uses the denominator of n. All right, it's too complicated of an explanation, but let's review it with the link that was provided. Essentially, the way that we calculate the standard deviation is we're going to first have to receive the mean of all the ages of the people that we're going to have. So to receive the mean, which is also known as the average, we're going to have to add up the totals of all the ages and then divide it by the total amount of ages that we have. So, for example, if we were to have 10 people, then we will grab their ages, add up all their ages, and divide that by 10 because there's 10 personnel that we're taking in, right? So that's the average. So after we calculate the mean, for each number, we're going to subtract the mean from it, and then what that results is going to be squared. After we square it, we're going to calculate the mean of the square differences. So once again, we're going to go through the same math that we just did with the ages by grabbing that mean, and that is the variance. We're going to square root that to obtain the population standard deviation. All right, so we'll take it step by step. So first and foremost, we're gonna want to um, create that function. So we're gonna do define. We say std def, and it's gonna take in a parameter. It's gonna be a list of person objects. So we'll just call it list of person object. I hate snake case so much. Um, and when we pass it in, it's gonna be a list, right? So an array, pretty much. Now, how are we gonna access all those items? We discussed different ways of doing it. We can use a for loop. But the first thing we're gonna want is to access their ages and get the mean of their ages. So we can do uh let's first grab the total of what their ages are. We'll do a very simple step by step. We're going to initialize a variable called total, which will start at 0. And then we're going to do for person and list of person objects. We're going to loop through our list of objects, giving us access to those individual uh, instances of our objects, right? And once we have each object, we're going to use a method that each one of them is going to have, which is going to be the get age method. So we can do total plus equals person dot get age. So as we loop through it, we'll grab the person and use the get age method that it has to grab their age, and we're just going to add it to the total. Once our for loop is complete, we can do mean of ages is equal to total divided by the quantity of how many ages we have in that array. So we can do divided by the length of list of person objects. Uh, and that should essentially return to us what's going to be the average. Everyone still with me? Did everyone get this far so far or no? Okay, cool. Now let's look at the resource. So calculate the mean. We got the total, divided it by the quantity that it is to get the mean. Well, we get the mean. And then afterwards, we're going to do for each number, we're going to subtract the mean. And then square the result. So let's see. We're going to subtract the mean and square the result. Does that mean we square it right afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay. Calculate the mean of the square results. Okay, so let's create, or we have to create a new list, calculate the mean of those rows, is the variance, square the root of that to plane. Okay. Okay. So we can do, so we have the mean, and afterwards we can do we can just do a new list. List of results. We can do it. We want to subtract the mean and square the result. So we're gonna loop through the for each number now again. And we can do for person and this. Now, is it repetitive? Yes. Is there a much nicer way of doing this all within one loop? Most definitely. All right. But right now we're just gonna code along, put something on paper or on the screen to visualize and do what we want. Afterwards, we can refactor our code if we want to, and actually make it work. So we already got the mean of everything, and then for each number that we have, we're going to subtract that mean. So we're gonna want to loop through it again. So for person, list of person underscore objects, we're going to do the new results or the new results. I'm new to the standard deviation, so I do apologize. So we can do new results. And we can do so subtract the mean and square the result. So we'll grab the or new. Actually, is that what I want to do? Subtract the mean. It's going to equal to person dot get age minus the mean of ages. And then from there, we want to square the results. So we can put this all together and we're going to square it, right? So the way we can square stuff in Python is by using the two asterisks, right? So one asterisk is going to multiply it while two is going to square it. So we're going to square it. That's going to essentially give us that result. So for each number subtracted mean, we subtracted it. And then we're going to square the result. And it's going to be a new result, right? So we want to add this to our new list of results. So list of results dot append. We're going to add this into our new list. Okay, after we do that, we're going to calculate the mean of all these squared differences. Okay. Don't think, like I mentioned earlier, is there a more effective way of doing this? Of course, but we're essentially just taking this step by step, see how we can get this to work. So for person and so for result and list of results, we're going to grab we can do total mean equal to 0. I'm going to instantiate a new variable called total mean, which is going to be 0. Because we're going to want to calculate the mean for these square results, right? So as I loop through the new results, I'm going to add that to my total mean. And then once I got the total mean, I can do variance. That's going to be our variance. It's going to equal to what total mean is divided by the length of the list of results. Is everyone still with me? Does anyone notice anything that I might have done wrong that they want to correct me on? Or are we all still in the same page here? Yeah. So essentially, all I'm doing right now is doing that formula. So if you look at the website discussing the standard deviation, they have a formula there. That's pretty much what we're doing here, but in a very detailed manner, line by line. We can try to refactor this code in a bit, but right now, so far, we're pretty much almost done. The last thing we're gonna need is after we get the variance is we're going to have to take the square root of this to obtain the population standard. So we got our variance. So what's next?
Square root.
Square
Or-
root.
Yeah, standard deviation, so the square root of variance.
Yeah, since you already divided by the n, all you have to do is square root it now.
And how the hell I'm really bad with math. Anyone want to refresh me on how to square root with arithmetic?
You just
0.5.
Yeah,
Point
0.5.
0.5.
So we can do variance, or answer is going to equal to variance
And then
rooted to
0.5.
0.5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are good, man. Okay. And if we did this correctly, this should return the answer. You guys finished the code? Are you up to where I'm at or not? Return answer. So, okay. So this should be the standard deviation. Now, if I'm correct, you can try it out. Let's go do, we can instantiate some classes here. P1 is going to be equal to person, so we're going to call upon the class. I don't like their names, so we'll go with Donnie. I'm giving him a random age. Not actually. Actually, I'll give you 73. We'll keep it to the example here. P2 is equal to we'll say younger. So he'll be this guy. We'll say it's going to equal to 24. And let's do P3 is equal to person. Let's do Sarah. Should be 48. Yikes, bro. All right. Person list.
Oh, you forgot the comma between or after Jose and Cora.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. P1. That's why it was yelling at me. P2. P3. And then are we gonna do, we can call it something else, honestly. We'll call it STD. For the naming convention. Answer is going to equal std dev, and it takes a list, so person list. And yeah, let's give it a try. CD, what are we, lesson 7, I believe, or 8. CD, Python, std dev, Py. We want to print this out. Print. I don't know why I did it as if we had the answer here or something. Ed. Okay. So we can do the quick math real quick on a calculator. Give me a second. Make sure we did everything right. So it's supposed to be where's some math for this? Okay. So we get the mean, which will be the average. 73 plus 24 plus 48. Anyone get anything different from their code? No? All right, I'm gonna put this bad boy into ChatGPT so it gives me something quick. I don't think we did it right. Okay. I think our math might be wrong here. So we went, all right, so looking back at the standard deviation, we calculated the mean, right? So we got the total, we went through each one, we grabbed the age, and then we divided the total by the length of age. That gave us the mean of all the ages, right? So we did step 1 according to the website. Now for each number, we're going to subtract that mean. So we instantiated a new list of results. It's going to be an empty list. We went through every single one again, grab the age minus the mean of ages, right? So we subtracted the mean, and then we square that result, giving us new results. We appended that into the list of results. So far, so good. That should be a new list full. If we want to calculate the mean of those square differences, so for a list of results, we can loop through that list. We'll grab every single one, add it to our total mean. When it finished, we got the variance by, yeah, we did everything right so far. I don't like this.
I don't know why yours didn't work, but it has to be something small because I pretty much have everything you have, and
Yeah.
mine worked. I typed in that website's problem and I got the answer. So it has to be something like super tiny.
Yeah. What
And
answer did you get back besides this?
I didn't use your person's. I used the thought code, the website that was linked. I typed in all of those and I was able to get the answer. So
All of those. Where did you? Oh, you talking about the
yeah, I typed in all 20.
9254?
Uh,
Can you track these? Use these numbers?
I just checked a calculator online and standard deviation came out the same as what you have.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
dude. Let's go. First time try.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. So, okay. Not too bad, man. First time I see this. One of the biggest complaints about FOP was the fact there's no answer key. But thanks to you guys, we're slowly building these bad boys. All right. So we're gonna have to refactor this. All right. So what's a much easier way of doing everything that we just freaking did, dude? Let's look at the formula. I think the hardest part is trying to understand this formula, especially because for me personally, this is the first time I ever see this. I don't know about you guys. I've never even heard of standard deviation, so it's a little foreign to me. I think that's the most difficult part here, trying to understand it. So we have to loop 3 different times, but is there a way to do this looping through only once? Let's look at it. I don't know, man. It might be a little bit. We could probably take off 1 for loop and bring it out to 2. But regardless, we're gonna have to go through to 2 different arrays. So there probably is a way of reducing this to much cleaner code. But did anyone else do this and get a different answer as they're coding along with me? No? Okay. Awesome. Well, we'll continue moving forward. We spent more than enough time on this. It should have been only like 15 minutes, but this is a little bit harder. I think the slides even say that too. It's slightly more difficult than what we're going over. Let's look at the slides. Yeah, okay. So we'll keep it there and we'll continue moving forward. So standard deviation. Before we move on, anyone had any questions about anything that was done here in regards to the classes or objects? You guys understand how we got everything here, right? No confusion whatsoever. All right.
Actually, I
Do
have
you
a
any
question.
questions? Yes, Kara.
It says in the README that they need to be private parameters.
Yeah.
And
So
I wasn't
okay.
here yesterday, so I didn't see
No,
us
yeah, that's
have to get
perfect.
that. So
So private. All right. So long story short, Python does not have the ability or capability, I guess, to make variables private. So developers came out with this cool little trick of how they would essentially make things quote unquote private, right? And that is by adding an underscore before what you call it, before the variable name, right? So by adding this underscore, you're essentially making it more difficult for someone to directly access those attributes, right, that belong to this class. And that's when methods like getters and setters come into place, right? So instead of someone being able to say person dot age and being able to call upon the age, you don't give them that opportunity by adding that underscore, right? So people would normally think, well, if I need to call upon something, how do we call methods? It's usually in regards to like a dot method, right? You call the variable and you use dot whatever the method it is, and then open and close parentheses, right? So how do we get them away from trying to do something like person dot age? You put an underscore in front of it, but then you provide them with a way to grab that age but not manipulate it, right? So if they want to get what age is, they can use it or the get age method, right? You can provide that kind of documentation. Let them know, hey, if you want to access the ages in this class, you can use this method, but you won't let them know how to directly access where the information is at, so they don't manipulate it here, right? So you give them a get method and you privatize the attribute by adding an underscore, because it would be too easy for them to just say, you could do, if it wasn't private, they could essentially do p1.age. You mean age? Where? Oh, where line 13? All right, it's too much code. I have this so many places in here. Anyways, I'm sorry. I don't want to go through this entire function and start deleting get age everywhere. Essentially, what and they could do, they could do, print or assign p1.age from somewhere and give it to a variable. But to avoid them accessing it directly by using the .age method, you can make it private by adding an underscore. So they'll essentially grab an error like, oh, this doesn't exist, right? Technically, the age does exist, but you privatize it by putting in an underscore. But you gave them a way to use it if they wanted to by using a getter, but you don't provide them with a setter, so they can't change it unless it is a variable that should be allowed to be changed. Then you give them the setter, which will be like set age, and then you would to allow them to essentially set a variable or change an attribute in the class. You would give them something like this, where it will be defined set age, and it would do either self dot underscore age plus equals, right? Or you can do just equals whatever you pass in the parameters. So new age. So new age. Return. Actually, you don't even have to do that because it's not a getter, it's a setter. So you can do something like that, where if you want them to allow, or you want to allow them to have the ability to change one of the attributes in your class, you create what we call a setter method, where they're able to pass in a parameter, which will allow them to manipulate that data directly. But that data shouldn't be manipulated like the price of a PS4. They shouldn't be able to go on there and directly manipulate it from like the front, trying to change the price of whatever they're trying to buy. Then you would, privatize that method and only allow them to get it to see what it looks like and use it, but not change it. Stuff like that, right? That's kind of like where the setter method comes along and where the privatizing of variables comes in, or attributes. Any question?
No, that makes sense. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, yeah, let's move forward. Let's see. Think that's everything so far. Okay. All right. Nice dog. All right, so passing objects as arguments. So objects can be passed as arguments to any method because everything in Python is an object. This is an abstract concept, so it's okay if it's not clicking just yet. Let's see the right side. What does the right side look like? So here we have they declared a method called pet that takes in a name as a parameter and assigns it to the name attribute. And it has a getter method here on line 8, where you can grab the name of your pet. We have another class here called home. And to the instantiate, it takes a parameter called owner, and that assigns that owner parameter to the attribute owner, the owner of the house. And we also see here that this home has an attribute called pets, and it's essentially an empty array, right? So every home that starts off essentially starts off with no pets, but it has a method called adopt a pet that what you can do is you would do home, whatever you call the home. Let's say, Kara's home, you would instantiate that by calling the home class to, create that as a class. It should have the method adopt pet. So you should be able to use Kara home dot adopt a pet, and as a parameter, you would pass the entire object, very similar to how we did here, where like the object is just handed in here as a list. So P1 is an object, right? It's an instance of our person class, but it was passed in here as an array. So technically it's a list of objects, right? So same concept. You're able to do the same thing and pass it in as a parameter, and it took that parameter and appended it to the home pet list. So now if we were to check Kara's home's instance, we would see that she has a dog in her dog attribute. So yeah, so you can pass in objects as arguments. Here on line 31, they instantiated a pet called pet1, named it Fido. They instantiated a new home. They call it my home. The name of that home of the owner, I guess, belongs to a person, Guillermo. And then now that home adopted a pet, right? So Guillermo's home now took in an animal using the adopt pet method, and it took on the entire pet1 object, right? Because this is an object. It took it in. They printed out here at line 36 to show pets. Show pets seems to be a method that the home has. It was declared here in line 25, show pets, and it pretty much is a getter method. It returns the pets. They printed it out, and it showed it in a very weird manner, right? It's not declared properly. They didn't add a dunder method, the string dunder method that we discussed yesterday. But then they printed out the dot get name method from pet in the manner where they use like the list comprehension method, where they can, like, for pet in my house dot show pets. They went ahead and did that inside this list, and they grabbed all those items. Pretty cool. Like it says here, it's a very abstract concept, so it's okay if it's not clicking just yet. No biggie. The more you play with it, the more you start to understand it. Creating objects of one class inside another. So we have here, they declared, let me see if I can, is this big enough? Can you guys see stuff like this, or are you guys following along with the slides? It's good. No complaints here. You guys can either see this or have the slides available.
I'm
I know
good, but I'm not speaking for everybody.
Yeah. But if you
I'm
guys
watching
can
them both, so.
okay, awesome. If for whatever reason you guys can't see what's being talked about, or if you don't have the slides, please let me know so I can get them to you. I believe I put them in the Slack channel prior to class starting. So creating objects in one class here, we have a class called club. They initialize it by taking a parameter title assigned to the attribute, gave it a method called get title that allows the person to call upon that class and receive the title attribute from it. Then we have here class club association. It has the init method takes nothing, but essentially it has an attribute called recognize clubs and lets you associate clubs in here. They have a new method called define add new club. It takes in the title of the club. And as we see here in this method, when it receives whatever title of the club it is, it creates a class within this class, right? So essentially the club.addNewClub method will create a whole class inside within it. It takes that title, it passes it into calling the club method that was declared up here above. And it creates a whole new object, new club object, and then appends it to the self._recognize clubs list. So this is an ability that you're able to use. And then they have a method here called list available clubs, pretty much just a getter, right? And it prints it for you. So that's pretty cool, right? We see that here in action. They instantiated a club association. They call the club association class, which took no parameters, which I don't know why you would do that. You would think that you at least want to name your club association, right? But they called upon that new club association and they created clubs within it, right? One club called Strength in Numbers, one called the Baker Street Irregulars, one Food for Thoughts, and then they were able to list all the clubs. Here we see what was printed out in the terminal. For those of you that were not here yesterday, or have not been able to see a recording talking, I don't think the actual recording from yesterday. So I put in a default recording from a previous class. I don't believe that Guillermo spoke about the string method, right? I haven't seen the recording myself. I just saw the start and end to ensure it was within the scope of what we were talking about that day. So I'm not sure the exact details of that video, but for those of you that were not here yesterday for my class, whenever you print out a class, it's going to print out some funky stuff like this, right? It's going to tell you what the item is that you're printing and the location of where it is stored in your memory, right? So here we see it prints out the list of clubs. So here's one club, two clubs, three clubs. All it's going to tell you that it's a type of object, right? It's a club object, and it's at 0x yada yada, right? It's some random code jargon that you don't know what any of that means, but essentially what that is, it's location in your memory, right? It's not meant for you to really understand it. That's not really your job, but that doesn't tell you anything. You don't know what class that is. Which is why that's printed out. And there's a way that we can override something like that. I can show you real quick using the person method. Just a small little recap for those of you that weren't here yesterday. You can essentially give your class a type of method. It's called a dunder method. It's very similar to how we use init, right, or initialize. It has two double underscores previous to the name of init and then afterwards, which is why I call it dunder for double under. And we initialize it by doing define double underscore, and we do str for string, and then the double underscore, it would take self, and that's all it should have to take. But what you can do is when on your return, you can return a string. And within the string, we can do some string interpolation. We can do within here, we can do, let's say, person name space, and then we can actually call upon its name, self._name. So whenever we do print, right here on line 37, I'm printing a class. It prints out what we decide to change when we print a class. So instead of giving us the fact that it's an object and it's located at x73 whatever, we can actually replace what it gives us by this manually string method that we gave it, right? If we didn't have this dunder method and we printed P1, it would give us that code, right? So that's what that is. So this will allow you, especially when you have like lists of different objects and stuff, and you try to figure out which one is which, if it exists in your database, like, do you have this yet or not? Like, which one is this? Like, is it a student? Is it a class, like it's a school, it's a what kind of item this is in your storefront, like whatever you might be working with, you're able to do that to give you some better representation of what you're working with. So yeah, that's a cool, nice little method. Sorry, I derailed a little bit. All right, using objects of one class inside another. We talked about that. In summary, you can use objects of the same class or another class inside any method, right? A method can accept an object of any class as the parameter in the same way it would accept an integer or string. By default, a method will always have a self parameter, right? That how we initialize it, and self will reference the object on which the method was called. When a method takes an object as a parameter, you can call methods on it that are defined for that class. Pretty straightforward. And then the last couple slides of our lesson 8 is going to be some examples. But before we get into this, we're going to take a quick break. Time is 6:27. Go ahead and take a 10-minute break, and let's return at 6:37. And we can look into the line segment.py. All right, welcome back from that short break. So let's look at what we're working with the line segment. So for this one, I think we're going to break them into teams of 2. We are a nice size. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So we're gonna break them into teams of 2s. I'm gonna break up into your breakout rooms, and we'll take about 15-20 minutes, depending how long it takes me to get through all of you guys. For you guys to work on this program, and then we can come back to camera and work on it together here. I'll be flowing through if you guys have any questions that you guys would like to ask. But if it gets like 15-20 minutes and I haven't closed out the breakout rooms, just understand I'm with a different student. But yeah, we'll give this one a try. Anyone finish? How was it?
I got through slope. I'm pretty confident I've got a good answer for slope. And then from there, I just need to do is parallel too, but I think I'm close.
Okay. Not bad. Anyone find the line segment class very difficult? I'm still trying to work through it.
Yes.
Yeah, we hit a wall, a
Yeah.
very big stone wall.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's awesome. We can use this as a learning point for all of us. I see, Adrian, you need help calling out the length method. Okay. Yeah, we can definitely check this out. Let's check out Kara and Donnie first. So you guys say you had a very big wall you guys hit. And one of you guys, whoever got the furthest or the one that drove, show the code.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
we're like in
we got
this.
hung up on length.
We're in a
Okay.
similar boat as Adrian. Like the length, like I don't know. We got it to the point where we were getting inside the point class and getting to distance 2, but it kept failing because we weren't passing a point variable, and that's pretty much the furthest we got.
You weren't passing a point variable. Okay.
We were trying to figure out how to access the distance to method under the point class, but we're not figuring out because it kept trying to run it either as like I guess it was trying to create a point like on line 35 instead of actually doing what we were trying to do.
Okay, so let's check your point real quick first. So everything seems pretty in order. Okay. You instantiated a point in point 1 and then point 2. Awesome. Does everything up to line 39 work? You're muted if you're talking.
I mean, everything other than our length
Yeah.
method there works.
What does the length give you?
Nothing at the moment. It gives us our
Can you
as it
expand
was
the
written.
terminal a little bit? Expand the terminal. Let's look at the error message. You are running the length method, correct? Scroll down on your thing a little bit. So you created a line segment class that takes in point 1 and point 2. And then you did print lines. Okay, so you're calling the line segment and then using dot length. You are returning it.
So I guess our issue can this line access distance 2 inside of point?
Yeah, I mean it should. So if done correctly, if I'm correct, I was reading it. It should be able to take two different objects, and those objects was taken as endpoint 1 and endpoint 2, right?
Okay.
So
And so
it
this
should
is what
be an
we kept
object.
getting. And it just says function object has no attribute distance 2. So I don't know what we did wrong.
Okay, give me a second. On line 30, scroll down, please, and keep it scroll down. Thank you. See, so you're on line 43, 41 actually. So you're trying to print it. Okay.
I think I think I might see. So I'm not sure if what I have is correct, but instead of on line 30, where you say in parentheses self dot get endpoint 2, just change that to self dot endpoint 2. And
Oh, yeah, you're grabbing a method, bro. Yes. That's exactly what's happening. You want to act, it's underscore. So you did self dot, and then you try to call the method, but you don't have to use its method, right? It's calling upon itself, so you can call it directly. So you can do self dot underscore endpoint 1, but you're doing self dot get underscore endpoint 1.
So do it for both of them?
Yes, right? Because it's an object, right? Inside of self dot underscore endpoint underscore 1, that you assigned an object in there. And same thing with number 2, right?
Okay.
So all you gotta do is call self dot underscore endpoint 1. But what you were doing differently is you were saying, hey, line segment object, right? By self dot underscore get endpoint, you're trying to call upon the line segment object and use the distance 2 method, but line segment doesn't have a distance 2 method, right? But what does have a distance 2 method is the object stored inside of self dot underscore endpoint 1, which is stored inside of line segment. It's a little kind of exception here. It's an object inside of an object, and the object that's inside has the method, but you're trying to say, hey, line segment, use endpoint 1's method as if it's your own, but it's not line segment's method. It is the object stored inside of endpoint 1 and endpoint 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Well, that makes sense for me.
Yeah. Is anyone else confused by that explanation? Can you guys are able to see when I write around on the screen, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially, if this is line segment, right? Line. That's absolutely looks like as if that's line segment, right? This here line segment, it has two objects inside of it. You have endpoint 1 and endpoint 2. This one, they have the distance method, the distance 2 method. They can use it. Line segment can't. You can't say line segment dot distance 2 method. You don't have that, right? And that's what you're also doing line segment dot get endpoint and you're trying to return this. So instead of typing in self._endpoint, you did self.getEndpoint1 and you passed it an object, but it doesn't take any parameters, right? You're calling a different method and trying to use a distance to within that. It was like weird. You're doing some weird, funky stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
Can
Facts.
I interrupt? I think you lost me, man. So you can or cannot use distance to within line segment.
So you can use the distance too, right? But they were trying to. They did line segment, right? Actually, can you go back in your code? Press Control Z. So scroll down, do Control Z until we get back to where you're at, or Command Z. I guess I think it's what you have. Yeah. So uncommented out. Yeah, you see you did self.getEndpoint1. What is this? That is this method right here, right?
Yep.
And then you tried to use this method and you did dot distance to. It didn't make sense, right? Didn't know what you were trying to do because you instead of grabbing an object, you called this method instead. It was just a
Yep.
typo. That's it.
No, I got no, I got you. I
That
get
checks
it. I
out.
get it.
Yeah, the naming convention was getting very confused because you just put the get underscore. So instead of grabbing an attribute, you grab the method and you use the distance to on this.
Yeah, I got you.
Is that better, David? I'm sorry, maybe I didn't explain it well. Thank you for bringing that up. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so. What if they had parentheses after their get endpoint one? Would that then translate into like grabbing the actual like value instead of grabbing like the method?
Uh yes and no. Will they return it? Yes, but I don't think you're assigning to anything. We could try it. Go ahead, put parentheses in there. It might actually work on you. Because it at the end of it, it is returning what you're trying to use. So let's try that. It's missing a y coordinate. Do the same thing. You did it here. Okay, endpoint. Okay. I think okay, endpoint. Is that Z? No, two.
I
I
think
guess
what
it's
it's trying to do there is that it's trying to read that that whole like function within point parentheses as point one, and it's missing point two.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's grabbing it.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I'm generally with you.
All right, that's good. Sorry. Thank you for calling me out on the explanation. I'm not always the best at explaining, so if I have to say it a different way, that's good too. So do not hesitate to say something if I lost you guys, whatever. Let me know. But so just to make sure, up to this point, we're all on the same page, correct? Okay, awesome. Adrian, you said you had some issues with links as well, or are you good too? Awesome. Uh, who was the one that said they got up to parallel and slope?
Yeah, I got to slope. I'm not sure if what I have for slope is correct though.
Okay. Uh, let's see it.
Do you see me?
Yep.
Okay.
Uh, can you close out the README or one of those two?
Yeah, sure. I'll close out all of them.
Did it's parallel to grab the self.
So I'm still working on is parallel to. I'm kind of at slope right now. Is generally where I left off.
Yeah.
So y2 minus y1. So getting the y coordinate of endpoint 2. So y2 getting the y coordinate of endpoint 1, y1, all in parentheses, divided by self dot endpoint 2, getting the x coordinate. I don't know if I should change that get x coordinate to just dot underscore x coord. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I think based on what we talked about, that's what I should do, right?
If you're trying to grab the x coordinate of endpoint 2, you're saying?
Yeah. So can I do the built-in method of get y coordinate?
Yeah,
Or
you can do that because it's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think it's an object, right?
Yeah,
So you're grabbing the object that is assigned to endpoint 2.
yeah.
Cool. Now you have that object. That object has a method called get y coordinate, so that should return to you exactly what you want. And you're
Okay.
subtracting the one from the other one. Cool, that checks out. Let me just look at the formula of slope. I'm not math savvy. Yeah, so we got y2 minus y1. Cool. You do the same thing for the x coordinate. Awesome. So endpoint dot get x coordinate. Yup. Minus that, and then you're supposed to divide it. That should have given you m which slope.
Yeah, so
And
that'd be the
then,
slope. So then the is parallel to should just be like an if statement if like line segment 1 dot slope is equal to line segment 2 dot slope, return true, else return false, right?
pretty much, let me see.
I guess like the question is, what am I calling it on? Because line segment object is I didn't get that far in like even reading the README.
Yeah,
So
so you don't have to do line segment underscore 1. You essentially do self, right? Because slope is a method that belongs to the line segment class. So you would do self dot slope, right?
oh yeah, is equal to if
Uh
slope is equal to line segment slope. Why is that it?
2x's. You're assigning a value, but I'm sorry, 2 equal signs. There you go. You don't have to do else, right? You can just do return false. So essentially, if it is true, it'll stop there, the method, and it will return true. If it's not, it's gonna continue going and it'll return false. Yep. That should work. I personally didn't work this far into it, but everything looks pretty much the same as it's asking in the VS Code. I got up to the slope myself, but the is parallel to looks pretty much how it should be. Let me double check. Yeah, so a method called is parallel. It takes a line segment object as an argument, returns true. Yep. Line segment or parallel, but otherwise should return false. We might have to do absolute on the slopes.
Why? Why can't you have
Or the
negative
overall,
slopes?
because we might get let's see.
You can absolutely
It
have
says
negative.
we have a method name is parallel to that takes a line segment object as an argument. So line segment should have to object itself returns true. The line segment the method is being called on is parallel to the one being passed as the argument. Otherwise, it should return false. For example, if line segment 1 and line segment 2 are both line segment objects, then should return to okay, cool. For this method, you'll calculate the slopes of the two line segments, segments, and compare them. If the two slopes are equal, then the two line segments are parallel. Other ways they're not. So you have your calling self dot slope. on 1. And then you grab it up. Yup, so far so good. For this method, you calculate slope. Yup. This can make use of the following slope method. Remember that you shouldn't test two floats for exact equality because of possible lack of precision or round off errors. Instead, you need to compare the float values for equality. You can do it like this: absolute. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think you're right because it depends on how you're reading it, right? Like if you're yeah. So like that definitely the absolute value is right. Did I do that right? Just ABS.
You should be able to do it like it shows here outside out of the whatever slope 1. Actually I think you're good here. Slope. Where you're printing it? You're printing it there. I should have paid attention in math class. Let's try where slope is that. So we printed slope and length. Is that what you're getting printed out there at 19?
At 19.
I'm sorry, my bad. I'm looking at the terminal.
Oh, yeah, so that's the length of both.
You're printing slope on 1.
It's the distance and the
Okay,
length
this is
are going to
2
be the
and the
same,
length.
right?
Okay, I
So
see. Yep.
then the next one is going to be the slope. So we should do line segment 2 dot slope.
You misspelled slope.
I did.
Okay. And line segment 2 is giving you issues. You don't have a line segment 2.
I need to put it down here. Okay, so it's saying that line segment 1 slope is -1 point. You see the numbers, and then 0.38, and those would be false. But
I think so. What we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to compare them. Is instead of doing the double equal signs, we won't be able to directly compare them. So you're gonna do self dot slope. That's good. Minus the line segment object dot slope. Do not do absolute there.
why would I do minus?
What's up?
Why would I do minus to see if they're parallel?
Because they're the same, then we shouldn't get anything else back.
So that's what you're saying?
Yeah, it should be essentially to 0, right? So we can do yep, absolute. So let's say they're both 10, and 10 minus 10 will give you 0. If not, and then we have to do the is less than 0.000001, right? So that would take care of any of funky numbers that our float will return to us. That's what that's trying to tell you. I was a little confused at first too. But if you look at the README, that's what it's trying to let us know of was the precision of the round off errors, right? Because Python's going to round off to a certain float percentage. So to avoid that issue, we are grabbing both slopes, self.slope, opening close parentheses, minus the line segment slope. Once we receive both those numbers, we're going to round off that and compare it to, okay, so on self.slope, you need to move that parentheses. Yep, to the outside. That orange one? Correct. There you go. So we're gonna grab what this is, and we're gonna grab the difference, make it absolute, and we're going to compare it to 0.00001 to make sure that there's no weird finicky with the float notation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. Especially if you're like me that you don't know much about decimals and math and whatnot, it can get very confusing. So hopefully you guys are with me still. Does everyone understand what just happened here? All right, awesome. Yeah, so essentially we're comparing it to the 0.0001 to avoid any weird function with the absolute method and compare the float notation in Python. No, nothing too big here, but that's pretty much the parallel method. What was next after that?
What was that?
Yeah, that's it. Awesome. Okay. Was everyone else be able? Were they able to code along up to this point? Okay, we got one more problem for the night, I believe. Do you guys want to take a 10-minute break, or do you guys want to just? Okay, all right. I see some head nods. Let's get a 10-minute break, get something to drink, and use the restroom, and then we'll come back. And we'll break off a little bit for the next problem. Back into the original rooms that we're at. All right, see you guys in 10. We have 7:50. Be back at 8. All right, let's get back to it. It's gonna be the final stretch of tonight. Finally, Adrian, we're gonna get to the streaming guide like you asked before we started. So we'll be doing that. This is gonna be a code along for the day. So I'll share my screen and we can code through this one together. And just go ahead and code in your VS Code if available. If at any point you reach any kind of friction point, do stop me in my tracks and ask why something is what it is, and we can hash out together. If I struggle, help me out too, and we can get through it together, and whatnot. It's the first time I see this assignment myself, so we'll begin and see how this goes. Share screen. All right, can everybody see my VS Code? Awesome. All right, so we're gonna start by writing a class named movie that has 4 data members: title, genre, director, and year. We're taking a init method that takes the arguments, title, genre, director, and year in that order, and assign them to the data members. The year is an integer and the others are string. Get methods for each of the data members. All right, cool. So we're gonna go ahead and start. We'll do class, movie, initialize it with our method, take itself, title, genre, director, and year. And we'll go ahead and initialize this. Genre, director. Oh, why did I put N? We're typing like I'm reading out loud. The year is gonna be the only one that's gonna be picky. It's gonna want it to be integer. So we're going to see when we add this in here, we can do something like int year. And if this is correct, then this should give us an error if someone tries to JAWS for let's go with David as the director. And then we should be able to give it, if we give it like 7. One is going to give us an error. Let's try that out. Line segment still coming up. Okay, Python figuring out. Oh, it didn't give us anything. What did we do? Int. No, I think I like that. I wonder if we can. How can we fix this? Didn't give us an error there, but I wonder if we grab it. I guess we can lock it. We'll get to this in a bit. Let's go ahead and do our getter method for this. Define get title. It's going to take itself and return our title. Get our genre. Return self dot genre. We want to grab our director. Return self dot director. And then same thing with the year. Define get year self return or self dot underscore year. Okay. Everything's so good so far. I don't think we can lock in this to a type. It's kind of unfortunate. If we print my movie, will it print it? Or we get dot get year. Huh. I guess it automatically converts it. That's oh well. Let's do this. I don't think it can. It's supposed to be. But it's not converting it. That's unfortunate. And won't allow us to do that. Huh. Oh well. Yeah, so okay, so we got our title, genre, director, and year. If we just do 7. Yeah, I'm still gonna work. Okay. Oh well. Yeah, so we got our movie in there. All right, let's look at what's next. Next, we're gonna write class name streaming service, and it's gonna have 2 data members: the name and the catalog. The catalog is a dictionary of movies. Okay, so we'll take it one step at a time. So we got the movie, very straightforward, very simple. Takes 4 data members. Awesome. Next is gonna be our streaming service. Streaming service. We want to initialize it, and we're only gonna take 2 data members: name, author name, catalog. And this catalog is a dictionary of movies with the titles as the keys. And the movie objects as the corresponding value. You can assume there aren't any movies with the same title. The streaming service class should have a name method that takes the name as an argument, okay, and assigns it to the name data member. The catalog data member should be initialized to an empty dictionary. Okay, so we can initialize it as an empty dictionary. We can do that. We'll go ahead and add our name in here. It's that data member, and then we're going to assign our catalog to catalog. All right, so the catalog is a dictionary of movies that's gonna have keys as movie objects and values. Okay, so the title of the movie is gonna be the keys, and the object itself is gonna be the value. And it should be able to take in the name is an argument, assigns it the data name, and the catalog data member should be initialized to an empty dictionary, but it should be still taking it as a data member. Did I read something wrong? Should it be taking it as one, or should we just initialize it as it like that?
We got kind of a weird sidebar question. So I see in your readme.md you get like formatted bullet points and stuff. Was there like a plugin or something that you installed for VS Code? Because mine is like asterisks and like
Negatron on Batman. Very simple. So this is how you guys have it, of course. But you get this cool, nice feature on the top right that says open preview to the side. And this is how it's actually supposed to be looking like in the repo if you were to check GitHub. And you can put that to show you how it's supposed to look. Open up on the side, you can just close this one over here. But yes, that's how you get that.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Sorry to distract.
No, you're good. You're good. Awesome. Okay. I think we're not supposed to pass it as an argument. Yeah, so it's not supposed to take catalog as an argument. So we can just take this bad boy out and we'll just leave naming here, but we will initialize it as an empty dictionary. Awesome. So we got that part. Cool. All right, so next part is gonna be get methods for each of the data members for the get name and get catalog. Too easy, nothing new that we haven't seen. Get name, give it self, return self dot underscore name. Cool, define catalog. I'm sorry, what am I doing? I'm the break part. Get catalog, give it self, return self dot underscore catalog. Awesome. So far, so good. So we have the get method for both of the data members. Next, going to be a method named add movie. That's going to take a movie object as an argument and add it to the catalog. All right, cool. We can go ahead and do that. We're going to do define add movie. It's going to take a movie object. You can name whatever you want. What did I forget here? I forgot self. All right, make sure you write self. And take a whole object. All right. Make sure if you guys are taking objects or lists, make it a habit to write that in your name variables. Because it's very easy to get confused if you start just naming stuff like movie, or whatever. Like, is it a movie object? Is it just a variable? Is it an individual list? And then what is it? I say that because I see a couple of you guys just do stuff like that, and then you end up getting confused. So do yourself a favor and just put a little bit more effort in the way you name stuff to help you out in the future. It will go a long run and it will save you a headache. I promise you. So do stuff like this. Movie object. So it's supposed to be. It takes the movie object as an argument and adds it to the catalog. So our catalog is gonna be self dot underscore catalog. And we want to add the movie object. And what do we say that it's supposed to have? It's supposed to have the title as a key and the entire object as a value. And because we know it's an object of movie, right? This is the class movie itself. It has a get title method, so we're able to use that bad boy. We can use that as our key, right? Self dot underscore catalog. Is this right here? It should be able to just take in a bracket. We'll open up bracket notation, right? This is how we assign keys and values, as you guys remember from the Python crash course. We're going to open it up with the brackets. And in here, we're going to call upon the object that we have as a parameter, movie object. And because it is a movie object, it has the get title method. We're going to do dot get title. And this is going to return as our title and add it as a key. And then as a value, we're going to give it the entire object itself. So movie object. Right? Everyone still with me? Not going too fast, no one's confused at all whatsoever. Good, right? Okay, awesome. So we have that. Okay, next can be a method named delete movie that takes a movie title as an argument, and if that movie is in the catalog, removes it. Okay. So next can be define. Let me scroll down a little bit. Delete movie to self, and it should take, just like the add movie, an entire object, right? And then we're going to do if we're trying to see if that movie is in our catalog, and it's supposed to take, if method name that takes the movie title as an argument, or bad, it's going to take a movie title. Movie title. All right, that's important. Not an object, just the movie title itself. So delete movie, take the movie title as argument. If that movie is in the catalog, remove it. So we can do if movie title in self dot catalog, we're going to grab that movie and then we're gonna delete it. So if you guys remember from the dictionary stuff, we can do the del, the delete method, call upon the dictionary that we want, and then using the bracket notation for the title of whatever we're trying to delete, and it should just remove it completely from our dictionary. Right, so very straight, simple, right? We're just doing the if in method to be able to access that dictionary, and if it isn't there, we're just going to use the delete method to just completely remove it from our dictionary. Okay, so that takes care of our streaming service. Lastly, we're going to write a class named streaming guide that has one data member. I'm gonna stop right here, and if you guys have coded up to this point, I'm gonna allow you guys to finish this off and see if what you guys have going on is working, and how you feel. Okay, so we'll stop this, and I'll give you guys a chance to attempt it on your own. Okay, finish off. All right, so from where we left off before, let me go ahead and share my screen. Awesome. So we got up to delete a movie. Now the next step was to write a class named streaming guide that has one data member, a list of streaming services, and it should have. Okay, we'll take one step at a time. So class streaming guide. Define. We want to initialize it. Start with self. And we'll have one data member, a list of streaming services, and an image that takes no arguments. Okay, so it's gonna take no arguments. Initialize the data member to an empty list. So we're gonna start off with self dot underscore what should we call this?
Streaming underscore LI.
I'm sorry?
I did streaming underscore list.
The streaming service list. Service streaming services. I'm very deliberate with my stuff, so I'll just keep it like that. I just hate how long it gets. That's why I hate snake case. It just looks weird. We'll do streaming services list. Open and close brackets. That should initialize it to an empty array. Cool. Then the next step is a method called add streaming service that takes a streaming service object as an argument and adds it to the list. So we want to define that. Define add streaming service. Takes in self and also takes in an object. So we'll call it streaming service object. Okay. So define as streaming service. It takes a streaming service object and it's going to add it to our list. So it'll be self dot underscore streaming services dot underscore list dot pen streaming service object. Pretty plain and simple. Nothing too difficult here. We're just adding to our empty list. Any questions so far?
Oh, I'm good.
Cool. All right, so next step is going to be a method named delete streaming service that takes the name of a streaming service as an argument, and if it's in the list, removes it. Okay. So we're going to create our new method. Define delete streaming service. Self and streaming service name. Can take the name. And if it's in the list, it's going to remove it. So unlike the dictionaries, we can't use like bracket notation stuff like that. So we're gonna have to unfortunately loop through this. So we're gonna do for streaming service in self dot underscore streaming service list. We're gonna grab that item, or it's an object, right? And we're going to check if that object name matches the streaming service name that was passed as a parameter. So we know that it's a list of objects of streaming services. This is going to be our streaming service object. We want to check the name, and we know that our object has this method called getName. So we're going to grab that specific object we're working with, streaming service. We're going to do dot getName, and it should return the name. And we're going to compare that to our streaming service name parameter that we're giving it, or argument, I guess. So if streaming service dot get name is equal to streaming service, we're going to remove it, right? So if it's not in there, we can do something like self dot let's call it streaming service list dot remove, because we know what it's supposed to be called, and we can just call it streaming service name. Is everyone still with me? I hope that actually we want to remove the object, so it wouldn't be name, it would be streaming service. All right. Okay. Is everyone still with me? I know that the name convention can get very confusing, especially with all this streaming service stuff. Essentially, we want to remove a specific streaming service out of our streaming guide. So it's going to be taking that parameter, right? It's just going to take the name, right? Just the name. It's not object anything. It's just going to be a name. An example would be like Hulu, right? We want to remove Hulu out of our streaming guide. You're no longer going to have access to Hulu. But we want to check to ensure if it's even in our guide. So we're going to loop through all the streaming services we have in our list. We can have Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever it may be. It's looking through all these bad boys. And then once it grabs every single one of them, it's going to use the .getName method to check its specific name, right? Because just because of the streaming service, we don't know what it be called. It might be streaming service 1, streaming service 2, streaming service 3. It might have a weird name, so we want to grab the actual name of the streaming service itself. So we use the .getName method. It will return us that specific data member, and we're going to compare it to the streaming service we're looking to remove. If it's there, we're going to remove it from our list, right? Self._streaming service list is going to call upon that list that we have here. And let's have a remove method. Let me see if I can show you. If you guys remember, let's see, remove list items. Right, so we have different methods for the list, and we can remove a specific item out of a list if we know what it's called. So that's exactly what we're doing here. We're just going to remove it out of the list that we have, and that's good to go for the delete streaming service method. Okay, awesome. Next and foremost is going to be the where to watch movie. A method named where to watch movie that takes the movie title. So we'll start like that. Define where to watch movie. Self, and it's going to be movie title. You take a movie title as an argument. It's going to return a list. Element 0 of the list is a string that is the concatenation of the name of the movie within the year in parentheses, with the rest of the list being the names of streaming services showing that movie. Okay, for example, the list that is returned might look like this. So it shows King Kong 1933, HBO Max, Epix, Canopy. The first item is the name and year of the movie. And then everything followed is going to be the streaming service it's inside of. All right. If the movie is not available on any of the streaming services, the method should return none. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to grab that movie and we want to check every streaming service we have. So we're going to do a for loop for streaming service in self._streaming services. So just like we started a for loop on the delete streaming service, we're gonna do something very similar on the where to watch method because we want to make sure that it's that we've checked every single service that we have. And after we do that, we're going to see we have the streaming service one, and every streaming service has a dictionary that has catalog, and that's gonna hold an object or it as a key value pair, one being the key being the title and one being the object. So we're gonna have to kind of go into these little items, right? So we're gonna have to go into the streaming servers, and then in the streaming server we have to go into the catalog, and in the catalog we have to go to the title. So we're gonna have to kind of start, going deep into little hole here. So we loop through the streaming service list, and after we grab the list, we're gonna want to grab its catalog. So we can say catalog is equal to how do we grab a catalog of that streaming service? We use the get catalog method. So we can do streaming service dot get catalog, and that should return us that catalog that belongs to that specific streaming service. And now once we got that catalog, we can look inside if that catalog has that movie title, right? And how do we check stuff like that in the dictionary? We can do if movie title is in our catalog, then we want to do something, right? We want to add it to our array, right? But we also want to make sure that if it's none, that it's going to return none. So how do we do that? Who can walk me through that?
So the if statement, if movie title and so if it is in the catalog, do we loop through the available stream services?
So if it's in there, it will essentially create our result. We can do like, because it's supposed to return the list, right? And within
Yeah.
that list, the first index needs to be an empty item.
So if movie
if
title and catalog, could we initiate the list?
we can, of course, yeah. So we can do list, so result or list. What do we call it? We can call it just result. Result is going to equal to an empty array. So if there is something, we'll add stuff in there.
With,
Else we're going to return none, right?
None. Yeah.
So
movie title, result dot append movie title.
So we can do something. We can check if because what if it's whether it's the first item or the second or third item, like how do we check that, right? So we want to see if it's empty, right? So how do we do that? So if movie title in catalog, so if it is in there, we want to do result dot append. We want to add something new to our result, right? It would be the new streaming service that we found that it's in. But what if it's a third time that we find something? King Kong should already be in there. So if movie title is in catalog, we want to add it. So we can say if the length of result is if it's already greater than 1, then that means there's something already in there. We just have to append the new streaming service. If not, then we want to add the movie and the streaming service. So if the length of result is greater than 1, we can do result dot append. We would do what's called movie title, supposed to be the very first one. So result, it's catalog. We want to now we have to access that movie title specifically, right? So we got the we know it's gonna be in that catalog, so we would do we can do an F string, and then we can open this bad boy up, and it would be catalog, open up bracket notation, put the will we put the movie title, or if we already know what the movie title is. Oh, we already know what the movie title is, so we don't have to even do this. We would just have to do movie title, correct? We can do movie title. And it needs the year though, right? And how is the year inputted in there? We want to grab, so we would need some notation. So it would be that. Then it would probably be have to be space. It looks like it has it in parentheses. So we can do catalog movie title, and then while we're in the movie title, we want to grab the year, right? So we can do dot year, dot get year. And it's going to be parentheses. Okay, so what I'm doing here is if the movie title exists, we know that the movie title is being assigned in what format. If we go up here on movie titles, it says with the title as a key and the movie object as a corresponding value. So we know that if it is in there, that to access that specific movie, it's going to have the movie title in there. So we're going to use movie title as a key, which is going to return as the object, right? What this is going to return is the entire object, which is going to be this bad boy up here, right? And because we have that object, we should be able to grab the year so we can give it the get year method. So this will end up returning overall the entire piece of code right here will return a year, which we want to add in here as part of our string. And then we're supposed to put it around those parentheses. So we're going to use the backward slash to kind of document our way. What I just do? To exit out, to let so for us to be able to put parentheses. Is everyone still with me here? Right, because parentheses is supposed to be a string, but parentheses is used to like for functions and whatnot. So we use that backward slash to be able to put the parentheses as a string. We use the bracket notation to grab those variables and whatnot and values. And then we're going to append it to our result. It's going to be the very first one in our list. So that should take care of this part. But then we want to add the catalog afterwards in that array or that list, my bad. So we would append that catalog name, whatever that catalog is, right? So streaming service, it has that get name method. So we should be able to do dot append catalog dot get name, right? Everyone still with me here? Any confusion? I think this should work. If you guys see something that I do not see, please, do not hesitate to say something. Actually, this shouldn't be catalog. This should be service, right? Because we're trying to get the name of that service on here, streaming service. So it should be result.append streaming service. Awesome. Now that's if the length of result is more than one, or let's say if it's not one, if it's equal to 0. If it's equal to 0, we want to append that movie title and the new service. Else, we want it, that would mean that it does not equal 0. That means it's more than 0. That means there's already the movie title in there, and we have a streaming service already added in there. So if it's not 0, then we would append the streaming service dot get name, and that should work how we want it to work. I believe so. Everyone still with me, or why I did the way I did? We can check it out, see if it works or not, and then debug it. Is there any questions? Anyone like see something that I do not see? Okay. Cool. So let's check that out. I believe we have some examples down here. So the streaming guide will have a list of streaming services. Yep. So here's an example of your code that you might use. Let's try these out. So I don't have to write my own. And waste time. So go ahead and add this in here. So we got some movies in here. Awesome. Streaming service. Okay, so we'll keep it like this. We'll do the rest on our own. So that creates the movies. Let's Python guide. Okay, cool. We're there. All right, let's we got that so far. We have that. Now let's create a streaming service. Serve one is equal to what they call the class name, right? And we're just gonna do very simple ones. We're gonna do Netflix, streaming service guide 2 is going to equal to our streaming service. We'll name this one Hulu. We'll do one last one. Streaming service. Well, this will be Amazon Prime. That's what I have. Cool. That's working. Now let's add a movie into our streaming service. We can do stream service one dot add movie one streaming service 2. We're gonna add movie movie 4. Let's add this on this one. Add movie 3. And last one but not least, we'll add this one. Movie 2. All right, so we can do that. Let's we have streaming servers. Let's check these out. All right, let's make sure they're working. Let's print out the catalog for our streaming service. Yeah, okay, we'll print these out. Streaming service one, we got the get catalog. It should return the entire catalog. We can print out. So we'll do print streaming service one dot get catalog. Let's see this bad boy in action. All right, so returning the catalog. It has the 7 seal as a title, and it has the object as a value. So we know the streaming service dot add is working. So far, so good. We'll keep it simple for now. If it's working like that, I'm sure the add movie and the lead movie is working. I don't have too much time with you guys today, so I'm trying to speed this up real quick. Let's do streaming guides now. So streaming guide. Stream guide equal to, and we're going to add. Oh, we're just gonna initiate like that. Doesn't take any argument. I forgot about that stream guide. Let's just add our streaming service dot guide dot add streaming guide dot add streaming service, and we'll give the streaming service 1. Let's copy and paste so we don't Keep wasting time. 3, 2. Okay, so we got the streaming service in there. Let's print out the list. This one's have a get list for the list, but we can make one real quick. Define get streaming list self return self dot self dot underscore streaming services list. All right, so we'll make the method real quick. We can print out our stream guide dot get streaming list. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so it does return that. We see one right here. Method streaming guide get streaming list of okay. Somebody wanna. That's weird. Returns the entire list. Okay, let's try to do search results. Print streaming guide. We'll do dot where to watch a movie. We're gonna pass it a movie. Which movie do we want to do? Equals results. Gonna take a movie, so we'll give it the movie Home Alone. And print out search. Print out results. And it says none. Did we? We didn't add any movies, did we? Movie 1, movie 2, movie 3. Why does it say none? So stream guide, we added all 3 streaming services. The one that should have Home Alone should be streaming service 3, but it's not returning it. Okay. Anyone see anything that I do not see? Return none. So it checks the movie catalog. So we gave it the movie title, Home Alone, right? And then in there, we do streaming service get catalog. It should have gotten the streaming service. It went to the results. Let's try this. Copy. Was this one successful? We'll print out search results. None. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go through the code and figure out where did I go wrong. Does anyone see anything here? Were you guys able to at least code along up to this point and fix what's the issue here or no? No? Okay. Well, we have the recording. I'll figure this out in the next 10 minutes off camera. If you guys have time, see if you can figure out where the issue is, and we can start the class like that tomorrow and talk about what the code, the issue with the code was. I don't want to keep you guys here too long. Today ran a little bit longer. I just didn't want to stop halfway through the middle of this assignment. I hate leaving things halfway done. But this will give us some time to actually look at some code, maybe like resolve the issues with it. So take this time to look at the code, where it went wrong, and how we can fix it. And I'll let you guys know what the issue was. Up to this point, were there any issues or anything you guys want to talk about or discuss before we cut for the day? No? Okay. Well, I'll stay here for another 2-3 minutes in case anyone has a question that they want to ask. And we can resolve this tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening. You guys have yourself a good day.
Cool. Thanks. You too, Roger.